So now we're going to talk about another skill that's pretty near and dear to me, and it's called love dandelions. So at least here in the US, dandelions are these weeds. They have a yellow flower top, and you can kind of blow and the seeds go everywhere and create more dandelions. And the idea behind love dandelions is the idea that there's certain parts of you that it might be time to kind of accept. Not that you're necessarily a weed, but if you were an entire garden, there's going to be a couple of weeds. There's going to be some things about you that are going to be things that you need to work on continuously, or things that you might not be able to get rid of. And the idea behind DBT is there's all these skills, and we're here to help you be more effective and work on target behaviors, but there's also parts of you that it might be time to accept. It might be your personality. It might be something that's kind of ingrained in you, and it might be something that isn't really something that needs to be changed, or at least right now doesn't need to be changed. So the examples that are often given are people who have addiction issues, might still identify as an addict, and might not utilize drinking or drugs or other things for extended periods of time, months or years or decades, but it's still something that's part of them. That's their dandelion. If you engage in self-harming behaviors, it's something that you might need to continue struggling. Eating disorder, there might be times where you get uncomfortable or triggered, and maybe at every meal you have to kind of talk to yourself and remind yourself about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So these are dandelions in your life. Now, your whole garden isn't full of dandelions, just a few. And as you learn more skills, some things might no longer be dandelions. But the idea is that there's just stuff. There's some stuff. There's some muck. There's some weeds that we all just need to accept. It could be, being really emotional. That might be fairly effective for you, and it might be something that you're wanting to work on these, but right now this is your dandelion, this is your weed. So it's about accepting yourself. It's about accepting the parts that you don't really like. You might not want to accept these things, but it's about kind of recognizing, accepting it, sort of describing what it is, and realizing that it's something that you can't change. Addiction or cutting behaviors that you are currently or in the past have dealt with is something that you might need to regularly check in with yourself in. It might be things that you get triggered sometimes, or kind of mentally get close to going back there. So it's about kind of identifying that, and the way to use love dandelions is to write down, like, what are the things that you feel are like the weeds in your garden. It could be long-term things. It could be trauma. It could be caring about people too much. It could be being emotional. These are things that might be part of your personality or your culture that other people might have a problem with, but this is sort of innate within you. And there's other things that you're working on in DBT and in therapy and whatever else you might be doing. But these are the few weeds that just poke themselves up every so often, and they're going to be in the field with the other beautiful parts of you, but they're still going to be there. So first, recognize what your dandelions are. And I think for a lot of people, this is difficult because you're thinking, like, I'm working on myself. I'm fixing. There's no dandelions allowed. This is going to be a weed-free zone. But think about what things, small or large, however you deem them, that are going to be there for the long run, and they might be there forever, they might not, but about what it is, sort of describe those. Feel free, of course, to journal or write it down, as many people do as they take this course or use one of the many DBT workbooks and textbooks, and just realize you can't change it and focus on what you can change. So these behaviors, these are your weeds. There's that whole beautiful garden that you are working to procure and to, help maintain those other weeds, not the dandelions, and plant and grow. So that is the skill of love dandelions. I feel like for some people it's really difficult, but I think it's also important to acknowledge that DBT isn't about being perfect. This isn't about not having any weeds. We all have weeds, and this is just about recognizing what's a weed and what is something that could be planted as a flower. So that is the skill of love dandelions.